Hello, my name is Shelley Tatum Kieran and I am the kitchen hand. I love to cook and I was born with one hand, but that's never stopped me in the kitchen or anywhere else in my life for that matter. The kitchen is where I feel whole. It's where I come to feed my curiosity and my family and friends with good food. And I hope hanging out here with me will inspire you to do whatever brings you joy. So let's get started. Today we're making maple milk bread BLTs. Come on, it's going to be delicious. And this is a recipe from Eric Kim from the New York Times. And he talks a lot about the history of milk bread, which is an Asian bread, and it's very popular in the Korean community. And Eric's recipe is kind of a riff on that because he adds maple syrup, and who's going to argue with that? It's absolutely delicious and fluffy and uplifting, and so that's why I want to make it. So let's go. All right, the first thing we're going to do is make what's called a tangjong, which is a paste of milk and flour, bread flour, which helps to keep the bread nice and sweet. So the first thing you do without turning the burner on is half a cup of flour, bread flour, and a whole cup of milk. And then you turn the burner on, that off the heat, and we have our tangjong, a half cup of heavy cream in there. Cool it down and smooth it out a little. And that'll take a second because it's got to loosen up that paste. 4 cups of bread flour. Mix that in a little bit. Here's the fun part, a cup of maple syrup and 1 egg. Look at all that syrup. God forbid we leave some syrup out. 2 packets of active dry yeast, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. So you just mix that right in there. It's a little bit of a departure if you've made baked bread before. It smells really good, that maple syrup. And when it bakes, it's so fluffy and so delicious. You have this nice paste. You're gonna put a lid on it, and you're just gonna let it sit in a warm place for a couple of hours until it has doubled in size. Okay, so it's been about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and let's check the dough. It has, in fact, doubled in size. It's very sticky, and he tells you it's going to be kind of sticky. It really does resemble kind of oatmeal. Wants to be scooping their oatmeal with a hand. All right, I got it all. There's your beautiful dough, and you plop it in here. And sticky hand. And then we have your dough hook. No hook jokes, please. I actually did wear one of these, well, not this, but I did wear a hook when I was little. I had a prosthesis that had a hook on it, and it was just amazing. It was awesome. I used it for everything. It's always nice to see a hook in the kitchen that's not mine. All right, here we go. Put it on. And this is gonna go for 15 minutes. So it's loud, and if you wanna go do something else, go do it, but just keep an eye on the mixer because it travels. Here we go. So this thing has been dancing around for about 15 minutes, and we have this really, really beautiful dough. Look at that consistency. It's just fantastic. It's kind of reminds me of The Mask. Just pull the dough out. It kind of comes out in one piece if you're lucky. I got my... Somebody would like to have some dough. It's coming! The blob! Look at that beautiful piece of art. Shape it here. And then, isn't that lovely? It's kind of alive, isn't it? And then you're gonna cut it. You can use a knife. I use my bench scraper, my OXO bench scraper. Cut it in half. Make 2 balls. I love this part. It's so much fun to hold and touch. It's warm, and it's kind of pliant, and it's really wonderful. Oops, I did a little too much. Don't want to work it too much. And then you take a regular loaf pan. Spray it. I use coconut spray because I just really like it. Spray it well. Get a little on your shirt. Give that a good spray. And then you put your dough balls in the, do it this way. You place your dough balls into the loaf pan, just like that. They kind of snuggle in. They look really happy in there together. And it looks like this is rising pretty well already, but the goal is to cover it and leave it in a warm place, and in an hour and a half or 2 hours, or maybe even sooner, you just want the dough is going to rise about an inch above the pan, and that's when you know you're ready to go. So we'll be back in about an hour and a half. That is ready. It's all golden on top. It's looking beautiful. I'm going to pull it out of the oven. Look how puffy it is. It really puffed up. It's toasty on top because it's got that maple sugar in it, maple syrup in it, but it's going to be absolutely delicious for these BLTs. Stand by. So the milk bread, the maple milk bread is out of the oven. Doesn't quite look like Eric Kim's version. It's a little lopsided, but so am I, and nobody's perfect. It's going to taste delicious. Let's go. So I'm going to slice into it from the middle because I think that's a fun thing to do. Oh boy. It's like really, really beautiful. I want to get a good slab. Works better for me if I slice this way from the side. Oh, it's slicing beautifully. Oh guys, this is going to be delicious. I like a nice big slab so it's sturdy when it holds the toast. All right. Whoop. Gonna put those in the toaster and I'll be right back. Bread is toasted. Look how gorgeous that is. Just a big old slab of maple milk bread, and we are gonna decorate it with bacon, lettuce, tomato, and avocado. So here we go. Gotta have the mayonnaise. Just scooch a little mayonnaise on that bread. A BLT does require some mayonnaise, so, I mean, it requires a fair amount in my book. Make sure you get it on all the bread and on me. Okay. Slab that bread slather it with mayonnaise. All right, and then you build your sandwich. Bacon. Look at that. And then I put the tomato next. Even though it says bacon, lettuce, and tomato, I put bacon, tomato, avocado, lettuce. I think avocado on a bacon, it's just delicious. Try it sometime. So the tomatoes right now in California aren't quite at peak. So I got these little ones because they have the most flavor. Little vine ripened tomatoes. Sometimes I use even smaller ones. It's really important to get the tomatoes that taste delicious. You can also salt them. That's a trick that I use. It brings out the flavor. Maybe a little, well, I think that's enough tomato. And then a little avocado. Doesn't that look gorgeous? And a nice piece of, it's a little bit, a couple of pieces of lettuce. Let's see if I can get my mouth around this thing. And I have a plate. Cut it. I'm going to cut it on the diagonal because I think it looks nicer. Look at that sandwich. If I can get my my mouth around it. Thank you, Eric Kim. Maple milk bread, BLT with a little avocado. That's all I got. I'll see you next time for another kitchen adventure.